Let's see. Hello, everybody. We are live tonight on Monday, October the 29th, and we are going to talk about some fun stuff with my 14-year-old daughter, Esther Karen, and she's going to help me talk about some really cool stuff for junior high kiddo age. And I haven't really broached this subject area too often. Hey, Kristen. And I thought it would be a good time to hop into it. I talk about babies a lot and pregnancy and crunchy, oily food stuff. And I decided to hop into her age group and some of the things that we do for her and her sibs that are around the 12 to 14 area. So hope that it'll be right up your alley tonight. So we're going to hop off and get started really quickly. If you have questions or comments or just anything, put it on and I'll try to read it while we're going. And we're thrilled you're here, everybody. So, okay, so first off, getting started really quickly. First thing we want to do with our 12 to 14-year-olds is we want to start giving them some power. And what Zoe and I mean by that is that's very much the age where we want to give them some responsibility that helps them start practicing their choices. And that means they get to practice while they're still under mom and dad's roof and authority and guidance. And it's a really good time for little pieces to start happening and see how they respond to different situations. So, Esther, if you could, why don't you give them an idea of how that happens, let's say, when it comes to what we do at our house. Let's say with something like chores or how we keep up with the way we run the house and everything. And of course, if you don't know, we do homeschool our kids. I didn't say that. Hi, everybody, I'm Jennifer. Not a doctor or anything, just a mom. I also forgot to say that. Hello, Barrett. We have 13 amazing children and 10 of them are at home right now. So I forgot to say that. So they range down from 22 down to 6 months. And so Esther's 14. So
yeah,
she just turned 14.
I'm almost 15.
You're almost 15, rather. Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
I think it's like a sense of management. Like our parents have this system where like Caleb and down, he's 16, so he's not quite in that area that mom's talking about, but right where it's right before it's like we're starting to drive and starting to go out into the world. And so they try to give us a sense of managing something of our own. We feel a sort of responsibility, and they do so by giving us each a piece of like I'm in charge of the kitchen. Like we manage certain different things, and they give us like a part of the house where we manage and we delegate. Like KP, I'll delegate. And
what's KP?
KP
I'm gonna quiz her.
KP is, we made it up a long time ago. I think mom and dad did, but it's like,
yeah, pretty much before you were born.
Yeah, I've gotten so used to the abbreviation. I think it's called kitchen patrol.
Yeah, that's right.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
And it's like we all have different jobs after we have a meal, and then we just get it done really quickly. The chores in the kitchen, I guess. I'm used to calling it KP.
Yeah.
But like dishes, counter, which isn't that hard since there's so many of us. So I assign that after meals, and we go right to it since we've already talked about who's in charge of the different things. And Phoebe's manages, and when you manage something, it doesn't necessarily mean that you do it all. It technically means you're in charge of that area. You make sure it stays clean, or certain things get done in that area, and you delegate different people. So I guess and it gives you a sense of like responsibility. You're responsible for something. If it doesn't get done, then mom and dad are going to come to you. So I guess it gives you a sense of responsibility and management, and then I guess that could help you later when have a job or something like that.
Yeah, so that is something that we kind of hopped into once we had our fourth child. In fact, I talked to someone today, AT&T, had to hop by there today. I've said hop twice. I really don't hop. I'm sorry about that. Went by AT&T, and we were talking about our family, and he was talking about his wife and how they really thought they'd like to have about 4 kids. And I said, oh, please, please, please go to 4. 4 is so great. 4 is somewhat of a magic number. We never tell everybody, oh, you should have 13 kids. It's been the most amazing thing that's ever happened to me and Zoe. We're so thrilled and grateful, but we don't say that to people. Everybody has their thing and what they think they're supposed to do, but we sometimes come close to begging them to at least try 4. But for us, 4 is where I realized that I could not do everything for our kids. I learned that I, at that point, needed to spread around some of the responsibility for our family dynamic. Again, everyone's different, but I really wanted to give them a sense of ownership, and I wanted to prepare them for the things they would do, not just in their own families, but as they progressed, where they would have an employer, where they would apprentice with someone, or where they would just be in public with adults and know how to respond. And what Esther just mentioned, as far as the jurisdictions that we give them, it's not because Zoe and I aren't doing anything. We're doing something too. It's just that we're spreading around some of the workload that everybody has in their home. We always say everybody has to eat, everybody has to wear clothes. So if nobody wants to do dishes or do laundry, guess you don't have to eat or do clothes or do laundry. It puts it really in a practical sense where everybody can see how valuable they are. And what Esther is referring to, she is in somewhat of what we call a management position, because then we give her the opportunity to work with her younger siblings. She's 14, so she works with her younger siblings to pull off KP and occasionally to pull off making dinner and putting all the dinner prep in order. And that way she's working with someone younger. And those younger people that she's working with, then they get the opportunity to listen to and respect someone older than them that's not their mom and dad, though they know that me and Zoe are going to come and back up Esther in this position of running what we do in the kitchen. And it's really, really exciting, because a lot of what happens too is as they are in the position of helping some of the youngers know what to do, they learn how to delegate. They learn that they need to oversee the whole thing, but yet not jump in and do that for them. They
work with each other.
Yeah, to work with each other, but at the same time not micromanage them. And that's a really phenomenal skill to have when you're in the junior high age bracket. Because then you turn around, you have more respect for your mom and dad, because you realize, oh, wow, just because I'm in teen that I don't do anything, because that would be the temptation, obviously. When kids get into 12 to 14, I think it's a new level of, I'm starting to question, and I don't really know if I like what you just said. And when you get up to 12, a lot of times that doesn't quite happen in full force. And I think that that's why empowering them, giving them some power, gives them the ability to understand what it means when other people have power and authority in their life that could appear to not be doing what they do, and it really turns the tables for them. And I also want to say, one of the hashtags I use a lot is not perfection, but practice. Lots of practice, not perfection. It's not like we've got this down. It's just literally Zoe and I just kind of sharing, hey, some of this has seemed to work a little bit. This also coincides with, in our schooling, how we want them to learn something through a small business opportunity. So this is around the age that they begin to have an idea of what they'd like to do to start a small business. And for our older 3 kids, they are all still basically doing, in some way, shape, or form, that small business that they started around Esther's age. And so that's another element of some power and some decision making that's happening. And that also gives them all this experience with communicating with adults, with the business math side of how they run this small business, what kind of product they'd like to come up with or make or offer. And now with Hannah, Nathaniel, and Micah, they're all basically running those small businesses. And we just love the idea of the lifeblood of this country. It began with entrepreneurial mindsets, and that has been such a in fact, we have one of my older entrepreneurs is walking in. She doesn't know I'm here. Oh, actually, two of them. So we're talking.
Oh, you look pretty, Mom.
Oh, thank you. I'm on live right now.
Oh, I thought you were on FaceTime. Sorry.
It's okay. Hey, guys.
I'm going to Weatherford.
Okay.
Call
Okay.
me. It's about
Okay.
to pick up.
Okay.
And I
Great,
just got
thank
back
you.
from class, so I'm just going to edit a little bit. Then
Okay. Okay. We're over at my office. There's Nate. He's 20, and Micah just walked in. She's 19. And so they're both doing some of their entrepreneurial stuff. So part of their office work they do over at my office. So anyway, they didn't know I asked Esther to hang with me. So Esther, so we've covered power. Okay. And now let's talk about props. Okay. So this is something I've really, really started to grasp over the years once I get into this 12 to 14 age bracket. It's really a fine balance between holding every single tiny thing accountable, and I do mean every tiny thing, and I don't mean it in a overprotective, hovering helicopter mom kind of way. I just mean that it's so important to really, really observe and supervise the little tiny decisions that they're making. And I'm going to introduce a topic here that I know is on most parents' minds these days, and that's technology and social media. With that area, of course, we're still practicing. Just to give you an idea of the history here, when we started our family, it was 1995. We did not have a personal computer in our home until Nathaniel was, let's see, I think he was maybe 1 or 2 years old, and he was born in 1997. So I didn't carry around a personal cell phone, I think, until Micah was a toddler, and she's 19. So that has obviously changed everything. But in the dynamic of our home, the oldest, 22, down to the present little one who's 6 months, a gargantuan change in history here with relation to the internet. So what I mean by the props area and the holding people accountable, we are really, really just unapologetically, incredibly serious about social media and the internet. And I think that's okay. We've had a lot of advice from older parents, older moms and dads that have gone ahead of us, and I highly advise that. I highly advise just really listening to people that are ahead of you and have done this gig. It's the hardest gig in the world. I think it's the most rewarding, but it is just flipping hard sometimes. It's blood, sweat, and tears. It's bigger investment than a Roth IRA. It's a lot, and just incredible, huge amount of work, but so powerful and important. So on the internet social media thing, we gradually give them steps with cell phone usage. And obviously, since we're homeschooling, that's a different dynamic. We are not in a position where we would be dropping them off and they would be in a public school situation or private school. Whatever situation you may have, you'll have your own rules. But our encouragement, Zoe's and my encouragement, is big time. Please just think about what your rules are and then just stick to them. Be really serious about them. And truthfully, be really gut level honest about what they can run into if they don't. There's a stat that I just read. I think we told you guys this a couple of months ago, but I just read a stat about, I think most kids under 10, so we're talking about younger than this age group that I'm mentioning, kids under 10, 90% of them have seen some kind of pornography on their phone or someone else's phone. And so it's gut level, and it's out there, and we've got to deal with it and get forewarned and forearmed. We are unapologetically super serious about monitoring what we do on phones. So we do steps on the phones. We have certain areas they have the freedom to go here, go there, and then we have certain areas we monitor, such as app downloading and of course buying things. We also start checking accounts around this age where that obviously relates to their small business opportunities. So they go through all that business math side of things. We also start teaching them how to pay certain bills. They may be responsible for a bill here or there that relates to them, of course. Once they start a cell phone, that usually coincides with our dynamic. Why, honey? Are you leaving?
I don't.
You're gonna say hi? You gotta
What?
say
No,
hi real quick.
Mom.
Nate did a while ago. You gotta say hi.
I would.
Please,
but
please, please.
I'm sweaty.
Oh, she just taught a dance class. So
Okay.
we do. Bye, honey.
Oh,
Okay.
because I'm leaving really early in the morning.
Okay, honey. Love you.
Love you, bye.
It's not all perfect. It's not all perfect and tidy. But with our dynamic on the schooling side, usually they don't really do full usage of the phone thing until they start doing the whole driver's prep side of stuff. Even if your children are earlier when you start to implement the phones, I highly encourage you to try some of the supervisory things you can do. You can do that through your mobile company. I do that through AT&T. Again, some of the things I shut down, some of the things they're wide open for them to get to choose and make choices. Sometimes we had a situation happen a couple months ago where one of the kids ran into something unknowingly, and we pulled it out. We had a big conversation about it. We went to 4 or 5 frames ahead to what they might get into if they had pursued what they accidentally ran into. We had a deal happen one time where we were looking up, this is gut level, guys, and just the truth about our family. One of them was looking up something as we gradually introduced them to the computer, something about chickens. It was looking up something about
Fried
our
chicken, a recipe.
Well, was it a recipe or
Yeah.
was it? I thought it related to our real chickens.
No, it was a recipe, and he
homestead chickens.
accidentally hit a wrong letter.
Okay, there was some kind of wrong letter related to chickens. Oh man, I'm sorry and so sad that our world has that, but holy cow, it does. And so it's just better to just be gut level and be real. Mom and dad is a great first place to learn about the junk out there. It's not a great place to act like it's not there. And I think that's a learning process to realize that and be confident about it and be okay with it. And getting that face, I'm talking to moms especially right now. Maybe the dads just always have this, but getting that face that is not shocked by, holy cow, you just ran into that by typing chickens. Yeah, I mean, it was something pornographic. It was something so far out and weird. And then using that opportunity to go, hey, you know what? This is kind of a important thing for your future. You probably want to have a husband or wife someday if you choose to do that. It's the safest thing. It's the God idea to keep yourself wrapped up. And you want to do that with your body. You want to do that with your mind. You want to do that with your emotions. So that's why this isn't healthy. It's kind of like teaching them that they don't want to live on Cheetos or, just something similar. It's not nutritious. It's not nutritious for your heart and your mind and your emotions, your spirit. And so anyway, that's some of the things we've run into. So we try to be really, really, really clear. One of the things that we say when they're younger, so toddler age, we always try to go through this thing. Lorenzo actually coined this, that everything's yes, no, and who's in charge, and we love you. Okay, so from that stage, now we're talking about the older age group, right where Esther is right now. What time are we?
9:19.
Oh, okay, perfect. So she was just helping us talk about the power, how we start giving them pieces of power and position in how we run everything in our home. That could also apply to how they operate if they're going to help somebody or work with someone. Esther does a couple of things like that. What do you do with Mimi when you go to the museum?
Yeah, I volunteer with her at the museum each Friday, and I go and I have, I can actually put it all in my planner. I have social studies, and also for my schoolwork, I'm learning Spanish, and so Spanish people from Mexico will come in, and I'll be able to understand what they're saying, and then tell the ladies around me, and be able to communicate for them when they can't tell what they're saying. So that's a lot of practice for me. It's helped me get better. And then also I'm learning to talk with people, have eye and eye contact when I'm running like the cash register and I'm helping them come through. I have to look them in the eye and be sweet, or else they lose their patience pretty quickly. So
Yeah.
that's what I've learned. And also just like being, because I'm not normally someone that steps out and goes like welcomes people in, you can come this way, but it's made me kind of come out of my shell a little bit. So that's helped quite a bit.
So that's one of those little pieces. She does apprentice there at the museum. And so, again, a new little piece of power and position that has really been amazing. That's going to play into probably her small business. And then we also said, we started with power, then we said giving them props. I didn't quite finish that thought after we talked about the cell phone, using things that are delayed gratification, using things that are rewards and privileges that do depend on how they follow through with what we've asked them to do. That's been really, really powerful too. And truthfully, the phones have been a huge source of, I guess I'd use the word reward. If someone's not following through on what we've talked about as far as the general run of things, be it schoolwork or chores or jobs or their apprenticeships, whatever it might be, then the phone is a huge privilege. It is paid for by our children. It can be something that can go away. If it has to go away, it's not something they have to have if they aren't following through. And I think that's really, really powerful and important for a parent to hang on to that. To that authority is really, really, it's just really, it needs to happen, because eventually, nobody out there does anything in this world without following someone else's authority in some sense. There always needs to be some ability to respect someone ahead of you, someone older than you, someone more educated than you, someone taller than you, someone shorter than you. The list goes on and on and on. They always need to know, our kids always need to know how to follow leadership and follow the authority wherever they may be. That is a very healthy thing. It's not something that we're supposed to be without. Everybody is going to need to do that at some point. So this is a perfect time, this 12 to 14 area, perfect time for that. Perfect time for lots of rewards. Another thing we try to do is we try to date our children. Boys with mom, girls with dad, and sometimes we mix that up, same gender parent. We take them on a little rite of passage trip is what we call it, when they're around 14, 12, 13, 14. We do an overnight trip with them. We go eat out, fancy places. We go shopping.
Kind of parent time.
Yeah, just
like
individual
one-on-one
time.
Yeah.
We talk about very frank things about boy and girl stuff. We are never one to mince words about the whole gift of the sexual relationship, why it's important, why it can get totally destroyed by just messing around and not taking it seriously. And we're at the point with 12 to 14-year-olds, it's still totally embarrassing. One of my biggest tips as a mom, talk to them about sex when it's still embarrassing for them. If it's not embarrassing anymore, that's almost too late. It's not really too late. No, nobody's ever too late. God just always helps us wherever we are. But always start that talk way before you really think you should, because when they think it's embarrassing, it's good. That's when you should be really, really frank and really, really instructional and educational about it. And instructional, I mean by knowledge, of course. And then lastly, wrapping that up, I think I put on the little ad, I put sweat. So one of the things we like to say is everybody needs to sweat and work hard. And I think that's something that we see a lot of families and parents moving away from, and that's a sad thing. We feel like kids need to work hard. The old little poem says it very well. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Well, we have lots of play. We have lots of entertainment out there. We have a lot of kids, 12 to 14, in that area where they really are getting a lot of entertainment. They're getting a lot of technology. They're getting a lot of hangout and friend time and all that stuff. But the responsibility part, the work part, is what balances that. And it's so, so important. That is something we really, really want to always pay attention to, that we have hard jobs to do. Everybody in our family has some kind of hard job to do. It could be something like cleaning out a trash can. It could be something like clean out the garage. We have a little homestead, so of course we take care of animals. Whatever that might be, helping somebody that needs help that can't help themselves. That could even be a sibling. When we have someone little that might need something that an older one can help with, that is always a really good spot too. We always like to remind our older kids that, you used to be a little person. You used to need help. You used to need a diaper change. You used to need help getting your jammies on. You used to need help putting your shoes on. Little things like that just foster this sense of, I'm helping someone that needs help, and I used to need help, and I have something I can give back. And it's also incredibly, it's empowering for all three of these things, for your 12 to 14-year-olds to have the beginning power of a position in your family, the props of any kind of reward you can give them, however that relates, if that is their technology, if that is just your words, what you say to them, how you talk to them. Lorenzo and I have tried to make a really huge effort to be really, really specific about saying a lot of good words. We love you every single night. You're amazing. Not mincing words when we need to go through things we're not following through on, but being really, really overly purposeful about, I think you're the best. One of the things I say, I think you're the best Esther in the whole entire world. And I do. And repeating that. It can never be repeated enough. Our words are so powerful. So, and then the third thing was just wrapping up and repeating myself, just making them sweat a little bit, making them work, making them do something that's rewarding, making them have a job all day Saturday and then taking everybody out to eat pizza, balancing that. And just trusting that, you have a big person inside a little person's body, and that big person is coming out piece by piece by piece. And you want them to be who they are, and yet you want to train and mold and give them the ability to say no to themselves when they need to be disciplined, to say yes when they need to say yes, to follow through when they say they will do something. Those are all all those things are so important. They're just the budding form of an adult in there. And they're going to be, fast forward, they're going to be running things for all of us parents at some point. So anyway, I think we're at about 9:30, and I hope, are we?
Yep.
Oh, perfect. Okay. I haven't seen any questions pop on, but if you happen to have a question, if you're watching this after 9 p.m. on Monday night, then shoot me a DM if you need some help, or have a comment of some sort, or even if you have something you'd like for us to talk about next Monday on Momma Monday next week. So this has been Momma Monday on Monday, October the 29th. So happy you hopped on with us. What is my deal with the word hop? I don't know. And this is my daughter, Esther, and I'm so happy she joined me, and I'm so happy you all did too. I hope you all have an amazing night tonight, and I will plan on seeing you same time here next Monday. Thanks so much, guys. Bye-bye.